Okay, let's have those roving mics ready. Yes, it's now over to you. And just a reminder that we are accepting tweets as well. So every so often, Claire there she's down in the front row from the BIPC, the business centre, is going to be monitoring the tweets. So I will go over to Claire from time to time. I think you've brought your own microphone along as well with a bright orange top as well. Lovely. So we've got 2 roving mics, and put your hand up. If selected by me, then I'll get the mics over to you. And just a reminder, before you ask a question, just say who you are, where you're from, but please don't turn it into a pitch. I know it's very tempting. We want to get through as many questions as possible. This lady here has caught my eye, so if we can get a microphone to you. Good evening to you.
Hi, I'm Rose from Rose Hill Designs. I just want to say it was amazing talks. Thank you so much. I'm not even doing foods, and it was really inspiring.
And you want to now?
No, but it's just so inspiring what you said. And it's just basically, I've got 2 questions, if I may, about building your team. Like, where have you found your team? How do you employ people? Where do you look, and that kind of thing?
So we'll do that one first, shall
yeah.
we? Sid, building your team. Where do you find people?
The thing is, we've actually been really lucky. We haven't done much. We haven't searched for people too much. We get a lot of people emailing us directly, because I think food is such a thing that, like you said, everyone's very passionate about it, and they want to get involved. And so we've been lucky that a lot of people email directly because they care. I think they buy into the vision of the business. But otherwise, the little bit of work that we have done in terms of recruiting, there's a couple of websites, lots of university websites actually. So for example, we've recruited through Imperial, I think, and London Business School. We had some free, actually one tip that I do have is that if you guys are looking to do some modeling work for your business, there's some really good free interns on London Business School who are studying and are actually looking to get underneath the hood of a business and do those kinds of boring spreadsheet stuff that I personally hate doing.
And will that go to advising you on how to actually structure your business in terms of the staff required in order to deliver that vision?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's and they're really good. These guys a lot of the people who at LBS have been working for about 5 to 10 years. And so they have lots of good experience.
So that's London School of Business that you mentioned, did you?
London Business School, I think.
London Business School and Imperial.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lots of university sites are have recruitment schedules and stuff for that. So that's fairly straightforward, I think. Also, a lot of people we found through our network. So we try to, whenever we hire someone, we try to ask them, if you like them, hopefully they'll have people who look like them. So that's always useful to find.
Okay. Jessica.
Okay, so I just touched quite lightly on what's happened in our business over the last 3 years, but actually we've had quite a kind of seismic change in the business, which might be interesting for me to talk about to you. In moving the business I didn't even mention this in my talk, but we started in Wales, and we had such problem recruiting the talent that we needed in that location that eventually we had to make the decision to move half the business to London to get the design talent that we needed and some of the expertise, the senior management expertise that the business desperately needed. So that was a real baptism of fire. We moved the business, and I think recruited about 25 people all in one go.
And how did you do that? What channels did you use?
Well, using recruitment agents mostly. Yeah. But what I've learned as a business person, and Jamie and I have learnt this from our CEO once we'd recruited the CEO, which was after we'd moved the business, was really what we did wrong then. And she's taught us that, I forgot to say that most of those people have left, out of those 25 people that we recruited, I think we might have 2 of them left or 3, something like that. But most of them left. And she really taught us. Jamie and I have never worked in business. We've only had our own businesses, so we don't have the expertise that you have. So we've had to buy that in. So that's been our biggest investment, is actually appointing that person who does have that expertise. And she's taught us about the main quality that she looks for, which is a sort of humility in the person, a lack of ego, and then the technical expertise that you're looking for. And she's so right, because the team that we have now, I was talking about it to Patrick and Sid in the room at the back, they have almost more passion than we do, and that's hard to actually say. She's formed this team that is so passionate that they feel like it's their own business.
So that the life beyond you
Yeah.
is going to happen. That's very
Yeah.
interesting. Any other thoughts on that one, Patrick?
When we started, it was just through personal networks. I mean, when we had a telephone, there were 5 of us and a couple of interns. There was a telephone in the office, and whoever was closest to the telephone when it rang became customer care that day, and that went on for quite some time. And so we were recruiting just through our personal contacts who we thought could get involved, and then cut to the present day where we now have to have our own HR department and recruitment arm of HelloFresh, because we're taking on a lot of staff. We have about 120 in London now.
And is your recruitment as diverse as the communities that you're probably serving?
Yeah, very much. I mean, there's such a massive spread of people across the organisation, and you can see it mostly when we have a cookery school now inside the office, and everyone comes down to cook at lunchtimes, and you just see all of the different things that they're cooking, and it's absolutely amazing. But one piece of advice a piece of solid advice instead of just stories is interns. Really great. Like really, if you can create a relationship with the university or some kind of institution like that. Obviously you have to pay interns, and gone are the days when you could get away with that kind of nonsense. You have to look after them, but if you get good ones, they can be game changers. I mean, some of our interns have come up with some of the most incredible business ideas that HelloFresh has had. And now, the fantastic thing is we're recruiting them back, so they're finishing their studies and they're coming and working with us.
So got fresh, great ideas, technologically savvy as well, one would hope.
And they're so switched on, they're so driven to prove themselves, and the sky's the limit for them. They haven't been beaten down by the cult of mediocrity yet, and they still believe anything's possible, and we encourage that in them.
Okay, we may come to your second question if we get time. I'm just conscious that I've got to get to other members of the audience as well. Can I go to the back? And you've worn red. That's a very good colour to wear actually today to get my attention. I hope it's a toast outfit. Just lie and say it is. Yeah. Hello there, if you could introduce
Hi
yourself.
there, my name's Frankie. I'm from the Foraging Fox. It was very inspiring, thank you. On a small note with the HelloFresh, my son and daughter absolutely love cooking it with me. It's such fun. It's a great way to teach kids to cook.
Is that your wife or?
No, sorry. Actually, the question was about feeling inspired. Who inspires you? Do you have a mentor? Do you have a mentor? Do you still have a mentor? Who inspires you?
Let's start with Patrick this time.
So when I left university, I had a placement in a law firm in London, and I didn't have anywhere to stay. So I said to my girlfriend at the time, well, what do you think I should do? She said, why don't you go and stay with my brother? He lives in Barons Court. I said, okay, fine, sounds good. What does he do? Oh, he's just started a fruit juice company, do smoothies. They're calling it Innocent. I was like, okay, cool, like, sounds great. Anyway, spare room, job done. So moved in with Richard and another one of the partners, John, for the period of that internship. And then I went and worked at Innocent for about a month as well, and did an internship there. It was like writing labels on bottles and what have you. And there were 9 people at Innocent at the time. They'd been going for less than a year. And I was inspired from that day forwards by them and their story, and said, by the time I'm 28, as they were when they left the city, I need to be doing the thing that I want to do for the rest of my life. And that was the target I set, and that was the target I achieved when I left that job at 28. So those guys, for me, massively inspirational. And I think that if you don't have a mentor, you owe it to yourself to go and find one. I always said, you'll never find your dreams down the back of your sofa. I think a lot of people expect that they might, but you have to get up off your arse. You have to come to events like this, which is what you're doing, and network relentlessly. People vilify networking like it's some mercenary thing. No, it's not. It's about making connections with people. It's about helping other people, in fact. It's what can I do to help people in this room? What can you do to help me? do that as much as possible and find those people who can not just inspire you, but also practically help you. It's absolutely crucial. No person is an island. You need that help.
Yeah, very sage advice there. And in terms of mentoring, though, who would you go to now to unleash what's inside your mind for help and guidance, for honesty?
Honestly, like at the moment, I'm looking for that person. If they're,
Don't look at me.
if they're in this room, then I want to speak to them, because it's difficult finding that person who you really, really align with. But failing actually finding that person in the meantime, just read books. I mean, it's the most basic thing to say, obviously, but the best things I've learned in my life have come from the books that I read after I left university. Like, there's a great book, The One Thing, by a guy called Gary Keller, absolutely amazing. There's Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. There's all of these fantastic books, and you can just take all of this information that's taken them a lifetime to learn, and you can learn it in a couple of days.
Okay, how about you, Sid? In terms of inspiration, it was a great question, by the way.
I think I get inspired by my friends all the time. I think a little bit like what Patrick said. I don't think one person has the answer to everything. I think you're constantly learning from everyone around you. And actually, the reason why, for a long time, when I was been thinking of Grub Club and doing lots of research for about 3 to 4 months, and I was like trying to get as much data as I could before I launched it, because I was, I was too scared basically to do it. The day I decided to do it was because of one of my friends. He had been talking about this new art installation that he wanted to do. But he was like, I don't know if I can do it. It's going to cost too much money. It's never going to happen. And then one day I went to his studio, and he just said to me, Sid, I've started building it. I don't care what's going to happen. And I'm just going to do it. And it was that day that I said, you know what, if he can do it, I'm going to do it as well. And I decided to, Liv and I decided to set up a Grub Club that day. So I think you're constantly learning from everyone around you. I don't think you necessarily have to look for people with a certain level of business experience or anything else. I think, think about, the friends within your network, and each of them, have really special gifts that you can constantly learn from.
And would you pull on them for mentoring, or are you still mummy's boy? Is mum listening in from India today?
From India, no, sadly not. I was supposed to send her the link and I forgot, as usual.
You'll be in trouble.
You know what? I think mentoring is so important. I haven't done it, but I'd really, like Patrick, if there's anyone around here who wants to help me, I'm up for a bit of mentorship. Because I do think it is important. Although one thing I do quite regularly is I sit down with a couple of friends once a month or so, and just talk about what we're working on, not just about work, but just about life, and think about, what can I do to improve what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis.
So these are trusted friends that you can share ideas and thoughts. Yeah, good idea.
Yeah.
I think that's such a good point as well. It's not just about the business advice. It's about the psychology of it too.
Yeah.
Doing what we do is so tough on you psychologically, to, the self-doubt that you go through. Can I do this? All that kind of stuff. And when you talk to other people, you suddenly realize that we're all going through the same thing, and we can all help each other on that side, which is just as, it's the foundation, it's the bedrock of everything.
And also that work-life balance, isn't it? Obviously, entrepreneurs are rarely going to get that particularly right, so you need that outlet, don't you, for your own mental health and well-being too. Jessica, your point of view, please. Inspirations, who's inspired you?
Well, I guess I just reflect what you each have said. There hasn't been one person for Jamie and I, not really.
I meant to say Jamie.
Yeah. So I think, but you just pick up things really as you go, and people say things. And it's sort of interesting as well how the negative things can be really motivating. Somebody said to Jamie very early on, perhaps you should consider not being a knitwear designer. Well, that was the biggest motivation that we ever had, because
I'll show them.
Absolutely. And the same, I think you've had similar experiences that people haven't really understood your idea. Nobody really understood our idea at the outset either. It took us a long time to get funding. But that's, that you have to sort of have that self-belief. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, let's see what's been going on with Twitter then. Claire, what have you picked up on?
So we've had lots of comments early on around the panellists' thoughts around gaining press coverage as part of their marketing strategy, and people are really asking for a couple of practical tips about how they might go about building relationships with people in the press. And we had comments and questions from Show and Sing, Jennifer Earl, and Travelling Tea Ladies, among others. So hopefully some practical tips, please.
So building those relationships, I know you said you sort of hounded them, you just
Yes,
didn't stop until, but it's got to be good quality copy as well to begin with, or has it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, at the end of the day, I think you got to see. I think a lot of people see the press as, you know, oh my God, it's such and such newspaper, such and such magazine, but they're all just people there. So what I tried to do, or Liv and I tried to do at the start, was to see what people are writing about, and then to send them emails based on that subject. And then they're more likely to connect with the email that you're sending, as opposed to just an email, the blanket email to X or Y journalist. I think people want to feel like that you know, when you've contacted them, you've taken the time to think about what they care about. So that really helps. And then from there, I think those initial contacts are really hard to get. You know, it takes a long time. You know, especially me, I didn't really know anyone in the press industry. I didn't have any food experience before that, so no real contacts. But once you got the ball rolling, you started to meet people, then they started to make other introductions for you, and you start to build your network gradually. And I think it's important to sort of keep building those relationships with the press, you know, for a number of reasons. I think that a lot of people sort of see it as a very transactional thing, but I think it's important to build sort of meaningful relationships with them and sort of help each other out. So.
I think just in terms of practical tips, though, because I know, when I used to work for the FT and other broadcasting outlets as well, you would be looking for great stories. That was mentioned earlier as well, that we're looking for people to come to us. And you can get quite lazy as a journalist, actually. Once you've got about 6 or 8 really good people, spokespeople, business spokespeople, you might go to them on a regular basis. So, I mean, would you say that, you've put time and effort into trying to make sure that you're at the forefront of journalists' mind?
Yeah.
And are you always available? Because that's the one thing I always say to people, because I run a media training business, that once you've left yourself out there, you've got to be made available at all times.
Yes, if there's a particular need, but the way our business operates with the press, there's a kind of machine that's working in delivering the sort of product features, which happen routinely. So in terms of tips, I think the biggest thing I would say is actually understand things from the journalist's point of view, understand what they need. I mean, there's some practical tools. If you're in fashion like us, we have to do press book. You have to understand what that press book has to look like, how they need to consume the information that you're actually sending out. Make life easy for them. Make sure your images are in the right format for them to be reproduced. These are just basic practical things which are very important. And then, building relationships. One of the most effective things that we did over the years was actually have one-to-one lunches or breakfasts or dinners even with key journalists, and sometimes getting key journalists together because they quite like to meet each other.
At Grub Club, maybe?
Yeah, at Grub Club, yeah. So, and that was really, really effective. Each time we did that, if we had a lunch for like 10 journalists, we would get an important piece from each one of them. I guess the challenge is getting that relationship in the first place, but we were lucky enough to have built that really over a lifetime, honestly.
And Patrick, I know this is something that you've obviously got better at as the years gone by since the first foray into television. So just give us a few insights into that, and also to think about how your image is really important when you're dealing with the press, and the kind of things that you need to give them so it's on time and the images are good.
I mean, all of that stuff is just like, good housekeeping stuff. You need to make sure that everything you send them is properly checked and spell checked, and you're on brand with your message and all that kind of stuff. But I suppose the biggest tip I'd have in terms of getting press is that a journalist, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Like, you might be thinking, if I can just get that journalist, that journalist probably has a reach of 500,000 people that might read that article. Now, you could go for that, and likelihood is because they've got that reach and they're that important as a journalist that you're not going to actually make that happen. So why not instead get 100 people who have a following of 50,000 on Instagram or what have you? They're going to be far easier to reach. And because there's 100 of them, if you can create a buzz amongst them by getting out the first samples of your product to them and even including them in the process so that you're saying, I'm not just sending this to you because I want you to plug it, I'm sending it to you because this is just like the beginning of our company, I really want your feedback, it'd be really valuable to me because you are in the industry. And then go for those people. And in terms of getting in touch with those people, trust me, Instagram direct messaging, amazing. Like, people answer that because not many people are using it right now. If you send emails, they get lost. Instagram direct messages, amazing.
And especially emails with attachments as well. People are very unkeen to open them, so and that's really good advice. So hopefully that's provided people who've done their Twitter comments. Let's go back to the live audience. This gentleman here has caught my eye with and suited and booted as well, looking very fine there. Hello there to you. No, I didn't notice that, but that's fine. We're very informal tonight.
Evening. My name's Paul Durrant from PDT Sales Consultancy. It's normal with business owners that the expectations are that if you haven't got customers, you haven't got a business. But literally only about a third of startups actually get around to doing a marketing plan. So my question was, did each of the panelists actually think about that and start their business with a marketing plan? Yes or no? And then finally, for both Patrick and Sid, I'm happy to be a job share mentor.
Yeah. Jessica, can I start with you? Did you have a marketing plan to begin with? You did?
Yeah, we had a proper business plan. In the first, we started in 97 and we raised funding for the business finally in 2000. So we had an initial business plan, but then when we were going for funding, we had to have a really comprehensive business plan. It was really, really comprehensive. When we first were working the mail order model, we actually took most people who started mail order companies would get a consultant to do that. Jamie and I didn't do that. We actually understood the mechanic of customers going up and down and built the sort of spreadsheet and the model ourselves because we couldn't afford to do anything else. So, absolutely.
Sid, marketing plan to begin with?
I feel embarrassed to say we didn't have a marketing plan from day one.
Here's a pen, you can write one now.
Yeah, I put one together quite quickly. I think it's really important to have a marketing plan from day one. I think the way I approached the problem was to look at it and go, okay, let me see what's going to happen, and then make the marketing plan after that. I had a couple of ideas in my head, and I wanted to test out a number of things first. And then I like to plan once I have lots of information because I feel like I waste time otherwise. But that's the wrong approach to take. I think it's super important to, from day one, to have a very clear idea of all your marketing plan over a 3 to 6 month period. I think is
but
really
you didn't.
important.
Is it because you had just so much else to do that it was, just time constraints, or was there something else?
It was, I think time was one of them. And then I felt because I wasn't sure what was going to happen over a month or 2 months, because everything was so new and we were learning so fast, I felt that anything I put together would be quite redundant. But I think that you have to start with a marketing plan and then change it as you go, and improve what you're doing.
Patrick, very quickly, what's been your approach on this?
It was a 2-word plan, try everything. And we would literally try every single route, and we would try it. If it failed, then we move on very quickly to the next thing. We dressed up as carrots and we ran around Waterloo Station. We got chased out because apparently you're not allowed to do that, and it's
Without permission.
Without permission, and it scares small children. So we moved on to the next plan, which was having people standing outside the stations, not in carrots, and that stuck. And I think that's the thing. It's just like be willing to try all of the different routes, but if it's not working, then cut it, move on to the next thing. And then just by that process of iteration, we hit on the marketing channels, which took things like boom for us.
Okay. So very quickly, what's your preferred method or methods of finding new customers? Sid, so your preferred method of finding new customers?
I guess I try to think about it logically at the start, which is think, why would people come to the site? So how, what would, if I was looking for a product like this, what would be my process? How would I think about it? So I try to think about and also because of my media background, I guess, I would try to think about the types of press that they would consume. I would try to think about the websites they'd go to. I'll try to think about, the search terms in Google, for example. And that for me would be my first starting point. And then I'll build it up gradually from there. And that's what we did on Grub Club. We took an approach to go, okay, fine, we know that people are looking for dining out. Where will they be looking for that? They'll be looking for it on Square Meal, on Time Out. They'll be looking for it on, a website I pointed earlier called London Pop-Ups. So we started to build that out, find all of those low-level sites and try to find, like Patrick said, rather than going and trying to find that big site that has 100,000 reach, maybe find a lot of small sites that have a low reach, but you have a better chance of getting through to them. So we started to build that up.
Yep, thank you very much. Very useful thoughts.
It's not one thing, honestly, nowadays, I don't think. It's everything all together. And I think when a business works really well, it's the combination of having the great product and the really effective presentation, and then just finding all these little channels. There's so many channels now where you can reach customers. It's the whole mix. And that's how it is for us now. It's the whole mix. Social, digital, email, mailings, retail, word of mouth, everything, really.
So everything, but is there one thing that's more important than the others? You can't,
No,
okay, differentiate.
I don't think you can strip it out like that. For us, you can't. It's everything all together.
Yeah, interesting. Patrick?
My preferred personal method of getting new customers is to give them a massive 20-minute long speech about how I'm going to change their lives.
Yeah.
And then one of my sales team will say to me, Patrick, I think they probably just wanted to have dinner next Wednesday. And you've actually scared them off. And but the point is that just speaking to people, it's not necessarily the most scalable thing at low cost. That's for sure. It costs
Film
money.
yourself, though.
Or that, get the message out there on video. But again, as I say, it's just one person talking to another person and making eye contact with them and having burning passion in their eyes about their product. If you can do that, then you can sell anything to anyone.
I'm just very conscious of time, and I know a few people need to get off, but I know the speakers are going to be around afterwards. So if you do have any remaining questions, then the speakers are going to be here. Just final thoughts from you all. Just to give some advice for when people leave this event, what do you want them to think about, maybe? I know we're not dictating to people, but some good food for thought. So what would you like them to think about? There you go, sir. Some good food analogy there. So, food.
Ooh, I guess for me, I think don't take it all too seriously. I think, setting up a company is a lot of fun. You're going to meet some amazing people along the way. There are going to be some tough times, but, don't dwell on it too much and just don't focus on the negatives, focus on the positives and keep pushing forward. That's what I would say.
Lovely. Your mum would be very proud. Jessica.
I'm very conscious, actually, talking to you all tonight, that you've probably all got quite new businesses, and I'm talking along with two people who've in the early stages of their business life, and mine's much longer. So I guess the thing that I would like to offer up for you to take away is how you make that transition from that early stage business to a more mature business. It really does have quite unique challenges, and it's a very different animal. Just think ahead is what I'm asking you to do. Think what you want your companies to be, and plan for that, really.
Don't have your ear to the ground. Look out.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Patrick.
I guess for me it would be that when you decide what your dream is, or your goal, if you want to be more methodical, make sure it's your own dream and it's not the dream of your parents or your peers, or it's the thing that society tells you you should be dreaming of. Do the thing that you're most passionate about, because trust me, you're going to need that passion, and you're going to need the stamina that comes with that passion when you go through inevitably some incredibly hard times. So just, I know it sounds super fluffy, but be true to yourself.
Yeah, I think that's excellent advice. Well, that's all we have time for in terms of questions and comments. So thank you to the audience here in London. Don't move anywhere, though. And also for those from joining us in Leeds, they're cheering, Newcastle, Sheffield, Manchester, Exeter and Hull. Thanks, everyone, as well, for viewing on the webcast from around the world, from Zanzibar to Zimbabwe. And thank you again for all your tweets. We will be monitoring those. Have we managed to trend again? We've trended in the top 10. Oh, okay. So hopefully we have. We can look at those figures later. So a big thank you to our 3 brilliant guest speakers, to Sid, to Jessica and Patrick. Big round of applause. Thank you. And for the audience here in London, before you even think about moving from your seats, remember when you first arrived, you may have felt that you were sitting on something. Well, yes, it was one of these, which is promoting the events coming up soon in the next coming month. Yes, the Global Entrepreneur Week, if I can say it, and also the feedback forms as well. So very excited to say that your feedback forms is crucial, obviously, to maintaining and shaping future events here. So can we ask you to complete them fully? Once they are completed fully, then we've got our event team standing by the doors to collect them. And those the prize draws tonight will be based around your completed questionnaires. So this is where it gets very exciting. So to add a bit of drama and a bit of noise, every time we hear a prize, you can go, woo! So first of all, I'm very excited to say from Sid, we've got a £50 Grub Club voucher. Lovely. Oh, very excited. And I'm not forgetting our Hello Fresh Food and Recipe Delivery. That's a free one for one, which is worth a lot of money as well. A place on Grub's Marketing Masterclass workshop, which is going to be held at this centre, so that's a really good one as well. And a special thanks as well to Jessica, very kindly donated a £50 toast voucher. Thank you, Jessica. And woo! And then this is where, come on, don't make me feel bad, a signed copy of my book, Insider Secrets of Public Speaking. Thank you, yes. Thank you. So just to reiterate, if you want to win one of those prizes, you do need to complete your questionnaire fully. And we'll be doing the prize during the networking reception, which has been kindly sponsored by Lord Billamora himself at Cobra. You have to be in it to win. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the British Library Business Centre, the IP Business Centre, thank you very much for coming along tonight. And I wish you the greatest success with your businesses going forward. Thank you very much.